What if I told you that a company known for making earplugs just created one of the most technological, ambitious planar IEMs I've ever seen? Well, this is the Saccater aéra, a 9.6mm full-frequency planar magnetic driver stuffed into a unibody CNC aluminum shell that weighs just 4 grams per side, and is not just another planar IEM trying to ride the hype train. This thing was co-developed with Planar, features a patented integrated driver design, and it comes not just one but 2 cables plus 2 sets of professional earplugs in the box. Oh, and it's supposed to be hearing friendly, whatever that means, right? Well, I've spent the last 2 weeks with the aéra, and today I'm going to tell you whether this Kickstarter bound IEM is genuinely innovative or just cleverly marketed. So let's get into it. Alright, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, my name's Ian and I review in-ear monitors, headphones, and pretty much anything that makes sound. Today we are looking at the Saccater aéra, and before we get into the sound, let's talk about what you get in the box, because Saccater definitely didn't cheap out here. First, you get the IEMs themselves, and we'll get to the build in a moment, and you also get 2 cables, a pure audiophile 3.5 silver-plated copper cable with no mic for dedicated listening, and a USB-C cable with a built-in 24-bit 96 kHz DAC chip plus inline microphone and a media controls. Both use the standard 2-pin connectors, so you can swap in your own cables if you want, and that's already more than most what IEMs include at this price point. But here's where it gets interesting. Saccater also includes a carrying case, a detailed safe listening guide, and 2 sets of their professional earplugs. The Focus, which are soft silicone earplugs that can cancel noise up to 28 dB, suitable for sleep and noise isolation, and the Moment, which are high rigidity ABS earplugs that can reduce noise by 13 dB. This is more suitable for concerts and live events. This isn't just an IEM box. Well, it's practically an entire hearing health kit, and that actually ties directly into Saccater's whole philosophy, which we'll discuss later. Now let's take a look at the aéra itself. The shell is machined from aerospace grade aluminum alloy using multi-axis CNC, and it is tiny. We are talking about one of the smallest planar IEM shells that I've ever handled. The unibody design means that the driver components are actually integrated directly into the metal housing. There's no separate driver casing stuffed inside the shell, and Saccater stripped away the bulky metal casing that traditional planar drivers use and fused the acoustic components directly into the chassis. And this is genuinely different from how every other planar IEM on the market is being built. And the result is a 4 gram per side weight that truly lives up to the aéra name. And it feels like air in my hands. The finish is clean, the edges are smooth, and the nozzle has a proper length for tip rolling. The 2-pin sockets are recessed for durability. It's a very understated professional look. No flashy resin, no glitter, no faceplate artwork. Just precision machined metal. And I personally like this minimalistic approach, but if you're someone who wants your IEMs to look like jewelry, well, these might be too subtle for you. The audio industry has long believed that any planar driver smaller than 10mm can only function as a tweeter for high frequencies, and you couldn't get a full range bass out of it. Well, the conventional planar diaphragm uses a serpentine zigzag voice call trace layout, which has low vibrational efficiency and inherently needs a much larger diameter to push enough air for a full range response. And Saccater's solution was twofold. First, they co-developed with Planar for an annular, meaning circular, trace printing process. So instead of the traditional zigzag pattern, the voice call uses concentric circular trace laid down on both sides of the diaphragm using high precision chemical etching. Well, this fundamentally changes the coil geometry and drastically improves driving efficiency and responsiveness. Second, they used what they call a dual-sided concentric push-pull architecture. The diaphragm is suspended between 2 sets of dual annular magnets that create creates 1 Tesla of magnetic flux, and this symmetrical push-pull configuration eliminates that magnetic dead zone that plagued traditional planar drivers. Well, the result, the effective vibration area jumps from the industry standard of about 55% to a massive 92%, and that is a 9.6 millimeter effective diameter from what is technically a 10 millimeter diaphragm. So what does this all mean in practical terms? Well, it means that this tiny driver is pushing air and generating bass response like a much larger planar, while maintaining the speed, detail, and low distortion that planar magnetic drivers are known for. The rated frequency response is 20 to 40,000 Hz, meeting the high-res audio standards, and the impedance is ruler flat at 13 ohms across the entire frequency range and paired with a 103 dB for sensitivity. Alright, so let's talk about the fit and comfort before we get into the sound, because at 4 grams per side, this thing basically disappears in my ear. The compact size nests naturally in my concha without pressing against any part of my outer ear, and because there's no preformed memory wire on the cable, just a flexible hook-free over-the-ear design, the cable naturally flows to the contour of my ears without pinching or causing any fatigue. This genuinely is one of the most comfortable planar IEMs that I've worn. Most planar IEMs are bulky, heavy, because the driver assembly is large. The aéra completely flips that script. I wore these for 2-hour listening sessions with zero discomfort, zero ear fatigue, and zero urge to take them out. So if you've struggled with the weight of size of planar IEMs before, the aéra might be exactly what you have been waiting for. Alright, so now let's talk about source pairing, and this is one of aéra's biggest strengths. With 103 dB for sensitivity and a flat 13 ohm impedance, this thing is very easy to drive, and you don't need a powerful DAC. You don't need a desktop amp, you don't need a dedicated dongle, though I'll still recommend one for the best possible signal. The included USB-C cable with this built-in DAC chip is genuinely good for smartphone listening, and I tested this with my Android phone and got a clean dynamic sound with zero background hiss. The 3.5mm cable paired with a simple dongle DAC like the Apple dongle or a J. Kelly JM6 Pro delivers excellent results, and because the impedance curve is so flat, the aéra sounds consistent across different source, no wild tonal shifts depending on output impedance. Well, this source agnostic nature is a huge practical advantage. Whether you are plugged into a flagship DAB, a laptop, or your phone with included cable, you get the same balanced, detailed presentation for a planar IEM that's genuinely unusual and very welcoming. Alright, so now let's talk about the sound signature, and I'll post my graph somewhere up here. And let's start off with the low end, and this is where I was most skeptical about because, well, a 9.6mm planar driver promising a full range response sounded almost too good to be true. But I'm happy to report that the bass here is genuinely impressive. The sub bass has real depth and physicality to it, and there's actual rumble and weight down low that you would expect from a much larger driver. The mid bass is punchy and is well refined with good texture and slam, and what's most impressive is how clean and controlled it is. There's no bloat, no muddy bleeding, no mid-range sluggishness. The planar is fast, the bass notes hits fast, and decay is clean without any lingering. But that said, if you're coming from a bass hit dynamic driver IEM, the aéra isn't going to give you that thick, gooey, resonant bass slam. Well, this type of bass is more of a tight, articulate planar bass. It's deep, it's detailed, it's textured, but it's not exaggerated. The tuning here is clearly aimed at accuracy and balance rather than fun and warmth in the low end. Now, as for the mid-range, this is where the aéra really shines for me. Vocals are presented with excellent clarity and a natural body. Both male and female vocals sound lifelike and emotionally engaging. There's warmth and richness here that prevents the mids from sounding too sterile or analytical. Acoustic instruments have proper timbre and resonance. Guitar sounds like guitar. Pianos have proper weight and decay, and the strings have that natural texture that I want. The mid-range tuning avoids that common planar pitfalls. There's no metallic sheen. There's no artificial sharpness. No upper mid-range shout that makes you winch on poorly recorded tracks. Well, Saccater clearly tuned this for long-term listening comfort, and it works. I found myself reaching for the vocal-centric tracks, acoustic performances, and jazz recordings just because the aéra renders them so naturally. And the transition from bass to mids is very smooth and well integrated. Nothing sounds disjointed or artificially separated. It's a coherent, organic presentation that doesn't draw any attention to itself, and that's honestly one of the highest compliments I can give to an IEM. And next, let's talk about the upper frequencies. The treble is detailed, is well extended, but deliberately restrained in the uppermost frequencies to prevent fatigue. And you get good sparkle and air, enough to create a sense of space and dimension. And there's no harsh peakiness, no sibilance emphasis, and no metallic treble timbre that some planars are guilty of. Cymbals have proper shimmer without becoming splashy. Hi-hats are crisp and defined. Detail retrieval is strong. You can hear micro details, studio ambience, and recording artifacts very clearly, but it's never in your face. Saccater calls this fatigue-free clarity, and I'll say it's an accurate description. The soundstage is wider than you expect from such a small IEM. It's not massive or holographic, but there's genuine width and surprisingly good depth. Instrument separation is excellent thanks to the planar driver speed and low distortion. Layering is clean, and you can distinguish individual instruments even in complex, dense tracks. Alright, so that's the overall sound signature of the aéra, and I would say the overall presentation is balanced, natural, and refined. It is not trying to be the most exciting or dramatic IEM that you have ever heard. Instead, it's going for sustainable, long-term listening enjoyment, and that actually ties perfectly in the whole hearing-friendly concept. Alright, so let's compare this with another IEM, the LED Shure S12 Pro, which makes sense given Saccater's collaboration with LED Shure on the aéra. The S12 Pro uses a 14.8mm planar driver and is widely regarded as the benchmark planar IEM with excellent measurements and clean, detailed presentation. The aéra matches it in overall technical competence but goes in a slightly different direction. The S12 Pro is a bit more natural and clinical, while the aéra is warmer, more relaxed, and tuned specifically for long-term comfort. The aéra is also dramatically smaller and lighter, which for me is a major practical advantage. Next, let's compare this with the 7Hz Timeless, which is around 150 to 200 US dollars in its various editions, and it also uses a 14.8mm planar driver, and it offers a more aggressive technical performance, a wider soundstage, sharper imaging, more dramatic detail retrieval, but the Timeless is heavier, bulkier, and can be more fatiguing over long sessions. The area trades some of that raw technical flash for more of a comfortable and sustainable listening session. Now, comparing to budget planar options like the KZPR2 or 7Hz Dioko, the aéra is simply on another level in terms of build quality, driver technology, and included accessories. Whether it's worth the price difference depends on your budget, but the aéra clearly justifies a premium over the entry-level planars. So, who is the Saccater aéra actually for? Well, I think there are three types of listeners who should seriously consider backing this on Kickstarter. First, if you have been curious about planar IEMs but were put off by the bulky shelves, heavy weight, and demanding power requirements, the aéra removes every single one of those barriers. It's tiny, it's feather light, and it drives easily from anything. Second, if you are someone who listens for long sessions and values comfort and fatigue-free presentation over raw technical fireworks, the aéra is designed for extended listening, and it delivers on that promise better than almost any planar that I've tried. And third, if you actually care about your hearing. And I know this sounds like a marketing speech, but Saccater's whole philosophy here is genuinely different. The extreme efficiency of this driver means that you can hear full detail at lower, safer volumes, and the included earplugs encourages your protecting your hearing in loud environments rather than cranking your IEMs to a dangerous level. The 30-10 listening principle, 30 minutes of listening to 10 minutes of rest, is actually pretty solid advice. And this isn't gimmicky wellness branding. It's a legitimate approach to sustainable audiophilia. Alright, so let's conclude. And the Saccater aéra is one of the most thoughtfully designed planar IEMs to hit the market in 2026. The integrated unibody design is genuinely innovative. The 9.6mm full-range planar driver delivers on its promise, and the comfort is unmatched in the planar category. The tuning is balanced, balanced, natural, and fatigue-free. Maybe not exciting enough for bass heads or treble heads, but absolutely perfect for listeners who want to enjoy their music for hours without ear fatigue. Is it perfect? Well, no. The bass won't satisfy true bass heads, the treble won't satisfy detail fanatics who want razor-sharp highs, and the understated design won't win any beauty contest. But what the aéra does, it does exceptionally well. If the Kickstarter pricing is competitive and based on Saccater's track record with 1,600 plus previous backers, it likely will be. The aéra is an easy recommendation for anyone looking for a comfortable, innovative, genuinely hearing-friendly planar IEM. And this isn't just another planar bandwagon jumper, this is something different. Alright, so that's it for my overall thoughts and opinions about the Saccater aéra. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up, and also please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. My name's Ian, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys again in my next video. Cheers.